Good morning, LinkedIn. It's been a little bit since I've seen you. Good morning. Good morning. It is December. The year is almost done. Can you believe this? It's the month of Sagittarius, Miranda. My birthday is December 16th.
Oh my gosh, happy upcoming birthday.
Thank you. I'm a holiday baby. Um, I'm so excited to have Miranda ahead today. I found her as a member of the LinkedIn Creator Program and the community, and just watching some of the content, and saw her on with Xander and was like, wow, this is really important, helpful information. And only like a few hundred people were watching. And there's 750 million people on the platform. So we need Miranda to come to my audience, to stand out authority to Josh's audience, and enlighten us on the amazing work that LinkedIn is doing to really serve creators like me and like yourself. So Miranda, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm so happy to be here and talk LinkedIn with you guys.
Yes. Okay, so first things first, I want to hear about your story. You have 8 million TikTok views. Like, you're a TikToker. You are an incredible military spouse. Just want to shout that out. I absolutely love the content and that all of what you're doing for veterans and military spouses. And now you're part of this newly formed LinkedIn creator team. So tell us a little bit about your story, and why you're excited to be a part of the LinkedIn creator team.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, I honestly it's kind of surreal what has happened in the last couple years. I think all of my experiences have led me to this moment of being on the LinkedIn creator management team. And it's been really fun since I joined since in July. So it feels like yesterday, truly. But it's now December, so approaching 6 months. It's crazy. So much has happened and we have so much more to do. But yeah, I mean, a couple years ago, I started a TikTok because I was doing cooking videos and I wasn't getting great reach on Instagram. So I heard about TikTok and how it was a video app. And I think because I was an early adopter back in 2019, I think maybe I can attribute some of my success there. I mean, you always have to give early adopters a break because they're trying a platform out before everyone else. And I think that, having that experience of being on TikTok in the early days and then starting a podcast devoted talking about TikTok and what they're doing and where they're going. And I made a podcast called TikTok Famous with my friend, and we had about 30,000 downloads from that. Understanding and talking about creators really helped me get into the psyche of the creator economy and what's happening at scale here. And I have to thank my time at creating content on TikTok because it led me to opportunity for getting jobs that I never thought I would get. So I was a social media manager at a company called Flowcast for about a year. And that was my first time where I was hired as a full-time salary employee where I was focusing on social media managing. And it's a great story about being a content creator and turning that into a career. And I think that, as people are creating content every day, a lot of us, we're trying to figure out where is this taking us in our journey. And for some, it's continuing on that content creation for themselves. And then for others, it's working for someone else on their content. And I think that's the path I chose because I realized at the end of the day, I wanted to help other people with their content. And so when LinkedIn started their creators program back in July, creator mode was April, but when they announced the creators program was happening, I saw Andre Santalo's post on LinkedIn about him hiring his new team. And it just happened to show up in my feed on LinkedIn. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is for me. I love LinkedIn. I love creating content here. I really felt like I knew the most that I possibly could about LinkedIn over any other platform that I knew I had to apply. And I'm so happy to be a part of the team.
So awesome. And it was no surprise. Like, I love that that just came into your life too. It's sort of what you said, that your career and the things that you do to build up to these opportunities. I love hearing that. I think it's important in that career journey kind of conversation. Of course, want to shout out Joshua B. Lee, my hubby. He's hanging out with us. And we have Lisa here, early adopters. Um, Need work, would love to share my work. Hey, Lisa. Okay, amazing. How can we see your work? Whose work? Oh, give us some details, Lisa, on what you're talking about. Let's keep it going. Miranda, I have to ask before we get into the rest of this, what were you cooking? Like, why cooking on TikTok?
Yeah, so I think why maybe it resonated is because at the time there was primarily, Gen Z younger audiences on TikTok. And when I was posting these videos, they were like time lapse videos of me cooking a full meal, like a dinner meal. And because I'm not a chef and I have like no culinary experience, really just like me cooking for my family over the last 10 years, I think that maybe like the relatability there was pretty evident, but they were just literally like how to cook chicken, like how to butterfly chicken, a lot of chicken, let me tell you. And then my first viral video that got me a million views, my first million view video on LinkedIn, on TikTok, was me cooking avocado fries. And I think that's kind of a trendy thing. So, yeah, I would have to say like it's a lot of basic stuff, but they liked it. So I'm very fortunate to say that I had some fun there. I'm still creating cooking content, but just like, I'm not getting the same amount of views that I used to get. And maybe it's because my content, I just need to like redo it or try new things. But I'm just so busy, Rachel. Like I got two little boys. I've got a full-time job. I'm a mill spouse. Like, so we've got a lot going on. And I understand content creators are busy. Like it's one of the hardest jobs. And I kudos to all of you guys out there who are creating content. It is a grind. Like just kudos.
It's so true. It's so true. We talk about that a lot. Like, being creating content is a lot of work. When people say, well, Rachel, how do I do this? Why aren't I getting engagement? Why? And I'm like, well, this isn't easy. Like, this isn't easy. It's time consuming. You have to really think about your life, your priorities. Why are you creating content? What's your goal in mind for it? Because for it to be authentic and fun, like you're cooking avocado fry, for that to like hit with your audience, it needs to feel enjoyable too.
Yes. And I think you're touching on a great point that we good content is usually content that feels authentic, right? And relatable, and you're inspired to create it. And I think that's what you always have to keep in mind on any platform before you hit post. Like, are you being you, or are you like too much into the weeds of like, is the lighting just right? Is it picking up the audio? Just like I saw someone, Lisa, in the messages about, yeah, it's hard to take cooking videos because you're holding like your camera and you're trying to whisk eggs, and it's like, but at the same time, doing that, Lisa, is awesome because it's like your audience is right there with you. Like they get it. They know you're right there holding the camera. And I think that if you get into a habit, and one of my colleagues, Xander Van Gogh, awesome creator manager here, he said it recently in one of his group creator calls I was listening in on. He said, get into the habit of posting when you are inspired. Like, don't feel like, oh my gosh, I have this story to tell and I'm so excited to talk about it. But like, let me just jot it down in my notes on my phone because I need to like make sure it's perfect before I hit post. I'm telling you, like, that's probably the worst thing you can do because later when you go back to creating that, you're not as you don't have the juices flowing still. So it's funny because I always thought like with LinkedIn, at least before joining this program and really immersing myself with all you LinkedIn creators, I always thought, I have to be on my computer at my desk. I need to be typing it out on the keyboard. Like I need to be inserting like the right images and tagging the right people. And I always thought like that's the way you have to post on LinkedIn. But it's just simply like It's simply about when do you feel inspired to post. And if it's literally whipping out your phone in that minute and doing it on the mobile app and hitting post, do it. Like, get in that habit. I think you'll find better success that way if you are in a rut here.
That's great advice, Miranda. Thank you so much for that. Um, oh, that's Melissa Dillons from Microsoft, my Microsofty days. Hey, Vinny. Amazing. Okay, let's get into some more of our questions here. So, we've been already talking about being a creator on LinkedIn. What does it mean to you when you are a creator on LinkedIn? How do you define that?
Great question. So let's think about our vision statement here at LinkedIn, and that is to create economic opportunity for every member of our global workforce. And Rachel, what is the first word of that statement? Did you hear?
For every
No, create. That
create.
was the
You're right.
first
Okay.
word.
Like which part of the sentence?
It's okay. I didn't warn you that I was going to be
Yeah, test
giving you a
me.
quiz. So like traditionally, we always have thought about LinkedIn as this is where you post a job opening, or this is where you come when you're looking for a job. And that's still the case where you find economic opportunity on the app. In fact, that is a part of our mission and vision statement. Um, but the reality is, as well, is that every time you show up on LinkedIn, that doesn't necessarily mean you're the one posting 3 to 4 times a week, or you have a LinkedIn live show every Friday, which you do, and you are a creator, Rachel. But you could be writing a comment on a post. You could be asking a question in a group. You could be updating your banner to saying open to work. You could be changing your job status. All of these actions are creating. You are creating when you do these steps. So anyone could be a LinkedIn creator. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to have X number of followers. You have to have been in the business X number of years. If you have a story to tell, or if you have content that is value adding, or you are interested in building a community and helping people find economic opportunity, either you finding economic opportunity yourself or helping others, you are a creator on LinkedIn. And I love what our team lead here at LinkedIn says all the time, Callie Schweitzer. She talks about this platform of generosity. LinkedIn has really leaned into being this platform of generosity for many reasons. Like, think about it when you see people talking about where they found their recent job, or how they got their lead, or their opportunity that's taking them in this one journey. You hear about it all the time on LinkedIn, and at the end of the day, most of these posts, like, people are thankful for just having these opportunities here. So um, and also I'd like to add, like, being a great creator on LinkedIn, and Rachel, please chime in here. It's about being authentic too, and showing up consistently, sharing your story, and then inviting interaction amongst your community. I'd love to know, Rachel, what you think makes a great creator on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Well, I think the main what you've been talking about in terms of authenticity and really being focused out. So when and this is one of the things we'll talk about, I think the past kind of LinkedIn as before the platform and people really evolved is more about selling,
Mm-hmm.
and that being a creator is giving and serving for the greater good, serving and creating through my voice, whatever gift that I have to give.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that in a way that feels really vulnerable and intimate and authentic, I think that is the ultimate way of being a creator and sharing. And I really feel like the more that I'm just honest and vulnerable, and I'll just maybe say something that's controversial. Like, like, I don't know. I'm not trusting the platforms. Like, what do you guys think about the platforms out there right now? Right? Which platform do you trust the most? I did a poll on that. LinkedIn came out number one.
Oh,
Um,
good.
you know what I mean? That just conversation around real topics and real sentiment creates the best kind of relationship, Miranda. And I think the best thing about LinkedIn is that I build real relationships. Like one video, we had one, I watched you one time, sent you a message, one conversation, and here we are today. I mean,
Very
it's,
true. Yeah.
I don't know many places or platforms or companies that can provide that sort of accessibility.
You're 100% right. I mean, I think about every job I've had in the last 10 years, and I've had like 10 or 12 jobs. I don't know. I have always, every single one of them, I attribute to LinkedIn, like in some way, shape, or form. And then, I love what you said about showing up and being vulnerable at times. One of our creator managers here, Jamae Jackson, she is our fashion and beauty creator manager. She said this the other day in a meeting. Look, I want to see all of you. I want to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I have to agree, Jamae. Like, this is, we're at a really interesting time where companies, professionals, businesses, it's not just about the business. It's also about what's happening behind the scenes socially, emotionally, mentally. And a lot of that is about who are the people involved in these companies and corporations, and who is it behind the founder or behind the voice of your LinkedIn? Who are you? I want to do business with you. I mean, and showing up in that way and peeling back the curtain on your content, and I think that kind of ties into, like, when is it too promotional, right? Like, when are we being too overly promotional for ourselves? And I think that if you think about LinkedIn back on 2016, 2017, if anyone was on LinkedIn then, that's a lot of what it really was, but we weren't really thinking of it as like, let's create content here on LinkedIn, right? It was like, let me share my webinar and my course and my book. And that's fine. But the way it's evolved today, like, you scroll through a feed and you see anything that's like, come to my course, come to my webinar. Very rarely are you going to get much traction on that. And I'm not saying do not promote yourself. 100% you should be sharing your book deal or the TED talk you're giving, or even a LinkedIn live show you're on. But instead of sharing like the picture of, hey, come join me because I'm talking to so and so, share like why you should join me. Like, what is it about this that is going to give me any value to watch it? Like, it's like handing someone a book and saying, read this book, without telling them why to read it. So if you have a podcast episode that you just did, or you have a webinar you want people to watch, don't give them the link to watch it and just say watch it, right? Like, give the clip that's the most value adding clip to entice them in. Or maybe share a story about how you came to this opportunity. I actually have a creator, Greg Priest. He's in the UK and he is big on YouTube. And he's also sharing his story here on LinkedIn. And he posted yesterday, I think it was yesterday, a post about how he made $11,000 this month on and sharing his strategies on how he did it on YouTube. And I said, more content like this, please. Like, we need to know how you're getting, how are you doing this? People, it's more about like the finish. It's not more just the finished product. It's how did you get there? Share that with us on LinkedIn. We want to see it. We want to hear it. And then you're not being overly promotional. You're promoting yourself for sure, but it's not coming across that way.
It's such fantastic advice. There's amazing chatter. Hey, Gary, good to see you. Hey, 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 Gary. If you know, we were talking Clubhouse before. Miranda, Gary Henderson's a big guy. Got his club over there on Clubhouse. That's how we became friendly. Um, I was just thinking about, as you're talking, really what you're talking about is storytelling. And there is a difference between being in my belief, a creator and a storyteller. Being a storyteller is actually quite a big talent to have. It's very hard. It's very hard to know how to communicate in writing, in video, on audio, so that you're drawing people in to your story and then delivering on, hey, watch this or come to this, right? There's a little bit of like creative magic, Miranda, that I think
Mhm.
happens there. And I think that's where you see the like top, you know, 10, 5%, right? The people that have millions of followers or whatever the case, because they do a really great job of storytelling.
Mhm.
Um, and I just as you were saying that, like one thing that we do is obviously we do different events and whatnot. We use a poll to create some chatter about what we're going to talk about at the event, or we'll talk about a story and then how we're going to be talking about this at our upcoming event. To your point, where it's not overly promotional and we're
Mhm.
just getting to know our audience and then lightly mention, you know, what's coming up as sort of a tactic for those that are like, how do I do this? I don't know. Those are some of the tactics and tools that we do.
Yeah,
um,
that's fantastic, and I would love to talk about that storytelling versus creating. I think you're right, it is very hard to figure out and finesse the craft of storytelling. I work on it still all the time, and I think it's one of those skills that you get better at after practice and practice and practice, and not just storytelling, like telling a story verbally, but writing it on video. Every type of format can have a story to it. And it is a very hard thing to do. And my advice there is just practicing and look at practice, on LinkedIn when you're posting and you're doing short form, long form, try all the different formats and see what resonates best with your audience. Even if you're just starting out on LinkedIn and you're only getting like maybe 3 to 4 likes on a post here and there, but maybe you try a different format and you're trying your storytelling technique and you get 10 likes. Hey, that's double the growth, and the double the engagement. You did something better there that your audience likes. Keep going for it. Like try, like double down on it, iterate upon it. And I think that's where you start to learn and understand what your audience likes, and you learn more about who you are as a creator too. And I still like going back to TikTok. I have this like issue all the time, like internally, where I'm like, I rewatch and rewatch my video before I post it because I'm like, is this telling the right story? Like, even if it's a recipe, like, am I showing people what they need to see to like it, to understand it, to want more of it? And I just I can't agree with you more that it is so difficult to tell stories.
it is, and that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Like to your point,
No.
to what we kept from the beginning, better to like be inspired, be authentic, be vulnerable, and be imperfect, because we're not looking for perfection. I think that's one of the best evolutions, and we'll talk about the creator economy here too, and just what we've seen right over the last 10 years with social media, and then this acceleration of the change with remote work. It's like there's a rawness right now that like you don't need to look perfect. Yes, I have a light up here, yes, I have the nice thing, but like you don't need that.
Mm-mm.
Right, like you were saying, you're cooking, the phone is in the eggs, like, and I think that there people really are giving each other more grace on social media, and I'm welcome that. I am very glad to see that, Miranda. Like a few years ago, I would never put my face without makeup on social
Mhm.
media. I
Right.
know.
Right. No,
Like
you're right.
I just wouldn't. And now I'm like, I don't care, whatever.
Do you remember a couple, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, it made viral news. It was, I think he was being interviewed on BBC or something like that, and he's sitting in his home office, and his toddler, like, busts in the room, and the nanny, like, runs after no, I'm sorry, I think it's his mom. I don't know. The caregiver is running after, trying to grab the baby, and it's, like, this most hilarious thing because this happens all the time, but sadly, because of the time we were in like 2016, 2017, that was just never like nobody
Yeah.
did that. Like that was horrifying to anyone.
Yeah.
But now, like honestly, like my kids are at school, but like if one of them was homesick or here today, I used to probably would say like, "Oh, Rachel, I can't do this," but I would 100% be like, "No, we're doing it because like
Yeah.
if he comes in, like great, like that's life." So I love that where that's going, and who knows where it's going to be even a year from now.
Yeah.
So it's always fun to see.
Yeah. Since we only have a few minutes left, I think I'd love for us to talk about the creator economy and where do you think, Gary Henderson's here. He talks a lot about the creator economy. He has a book coming out. Where do you think it's going for LinkedIn? What's your perspective on this as a creator and then now part of LinkedIn?
Yeah, fantastic question. And honestly, Rachel, before I dive in, I would just love to hear first what you think about where creators are going. You talk with creators all the time. You are a creator, and me as a creator manager, my job is 1000% to listen and understand what you all are experiencing and what you want to happen and what you think will happen. So I'd love to hear from you first, if you don't mind.
I think the big opportunity and the big question is really how much do we own our own content? And LinkedIn is my power platform, but I don't own it. Like I'm just putting everything out there and it's free. It's free. I'm not making money. Y'all are making the money ultimately, right? By your members and all the premiums, etc. And that's the same with Facebook. It's advertising. Instagram. It's advertising. Really, the main customer is the user, us. And so I think that obviously the creator economy is ultimately how do we as creators actually create monetize and create a business and get paid for our IP.
Hmm.
And I don't know the answer. I personally am not getting paid very often for my creations and am quite curious to see what the big platforms like LinkedIn, we saw some obviously Facebook has been putting in money and there's a Patreon, there's a lot of other, tools where creators are starting to have more capabilities. And I know there's some cool stuff going on with like blockchain and taking things, there. So I don't know, Miranda. I think for like me, just like here I am in Austin, Texas, like I'm not any like million person follower. I ultimately would love to see the platforms that I love, that I frequent the most, be able to give me more opportunity to connect with my audience off of line,
Mm.
off of the tool, which I love that about LinkedIn, the pull the emails. Love that feature. I think that's one of the best things that's on LinkedIn. So I think the more that I personally can see that from the different social platforms where I can get more control, I'm going to be pretty excited. But I want to know what you think.
No, and love what I heard from you. Like, I think having that deeper conversation, you could go into hours about the creator economy. Is that going to become the owner's economy, the ownership economy? Certainly, very valid points and things I think about all the time too. Um, what I go back to though is what is the purpose of creating this content, right? The purpose is, I mean, it's different for everybody, right? But if we focus specifically on LinkedIn, it's about what are the economic opportunities you can get from creating this content. And I think it goes back to the people and the relationships you're creating and building. Like you said, we were able to have this based on the LinkedIn live show that you saw and connecting with me. And sure, that all happened on LinkedIn, but there's nothing that LinkedIn cannot own this relationship between you and I, Rachel, at the end
Right.
of the day. So think of it as like this is the platform where you're able to build those relations, start the relationship, build on it. You can certainly build on it and grow on it here. But at the end of the day, like we're people, like this is you and me. Nobody can come in the way of that, no platform. So I think that is super fascinating conversation to have. And um, we are all craving these connections, especially now more than ever. And I do see that, with moving forward in the creator economy, more of these collaborations happening over time. Because, like we talked about before, being a creator is tough, man. Like, and you're in it by yourself usually, and you're just trying to learn from everybody else and observe and take it all in. But when you're doing it with somebody else or you're partnering up, like it takes a lot less of the burden off of you, and it's more fun. And we're craving that, I think, more in person. And I say in person. I'm calling this in person, sadly. More of these collaborations is where we're going. I love to see more of it. I think I've seen a lot of creators implement it. Momita Das Roy, she's one of my creators in New Zealand, and she does a great job of partnering with other creators on the app of creating content together. So, but Rachel, like, who knows? In 6 months to a year, it could be you guys could be asking for something else. And at the end of the day, like, I'm here to listen and learn from you guys. And I'm your champion, I'm your support system. We are this whole community management team at LinkedIn. We are here to help you. And if you have any questions about LinkedIn and the creators program or how to get started creating content on LinkedIn, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much, Miranda. And I think the best point and big takeaway here is, yes, ultimately it's about the relationships and that we're human to human, as Josh was saying. And that is what all of this is about. I hope, Miranda, in the digital revolution, is that we get closer together and that it brings more human connection, not less. And
100%.
so we see both are there. Hopefully, as more voices, diversity, everything, more accessibility happens with the creator economy, that ultimately it really brings us closer as humanity, more community, less hate, all of those things. I love that. I love that um, as our final close to today, Miranda. Thank you so much, Lisa and Josh and Marshall stopped by, and Gary and all my buds that were saying hello over here. Thank you very much. Miranda, please, if you don't follow her on LinkedIn, obviously go follow her. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you. For everybody, have a beautiful holiday. I'll be back in January. And thank you so much, Miranda. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you everybody in the chat for showing up. I appreciate being on the show.